Sir, I can fix this.
You? A dirty street girl wants to fix my $5 million yacht?
Sir, I can fix this, Grace said quietly. The tall man in the expensive suit stopped shouting. He turned and looked at her. His eyes moved from her torn dress to her bare feet, then to her dirty face. Then he laughed. He laughed so hard that his belly shook. You. Mr. David Chen pointed at Grace. A dirty street girl wants to fix my $5 million yacht? He laughed again. Get away from here before I call security. The three mechanics standing beside him started laughing too. One of them waved his hand at Grace like she was a fly. Little girl, go find food somewhere else. This is not a place for beggars. But Grace did not move. She stood there on the hot concrete of the yacht dock, her small feet burning. She looked straight into Mr. David's eyes. The clicking sound from your engine. Grace pointed at the huge white yacht behind him. It is not just the starter motor like they think. Your fuel injector is blocked, and there is a broken wire in your electrical panel. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button and tap the like icon. Also, comment below and tell us where you're watching from and what time it is right now in your city. Let's see how far our story family reaches. Now, you may be wondering, how did a homeless girl end up at an expensive yacht club, talking to the richest CEO in Nigeria? Let me take you back to the beginning of this unbelievable day. Earlier that morning Grace woke up under the Jibawu Bridge. This bridge was her home. She had been sleeping here for 4 years, since she was 12 years old. The morning sun was already hot. Grace folded her piece of cardboard that she used as a bed. She hid it behind a big cement block where nobody could see it. Then she walked to the small water tap near the bridge where truck drivers washed their vehicles. She washed her face and hands with the cold water. She looked at her reflection in a small piece of broken mirror she kept in her pocket. Her hair was messy. Her dress had 3 big holes. But her eyes were bright and sharp. Today will be a good day, she told herself. Papa always said every day is a new chance. Grace closed her eyes and remembered him. His name was John Okafor. He was the best mechanic in Abuja. People brought him broken cars, broken generators, broken motorcycles. He fixed everything. When Grace was small, she would sit beside him in his workshop. He would explain everything to her. Grace, my daughter, he would say. An engine is like a person. When a person is sick, they show you signs. They cough. They feel hot. They feel pain. An engine is the same. It makes sounds. It smells different. It behaves different. You just need to listen. Papa died when Grace was 12. He had malaria, but they had no money for hospital. Grace tried to take care of him with the small medicine she could buy, but it was not enough. One night, Papa held her hand and said his last words. Grace, you are smart. Smarter than all the boys in this area. Promise me you will use your brain. Promise me you will never give up. Grace promised. But after Papa died, life became very hard. Her mother had died when Grace was a baby, so she had nobody. Papa's brother came and took the workshop, took the tools, took everything. He said Grace was too young to own anything. You are just a girl, Papa's brother said. Go and find someone to marry you. But Grace was only 12. She had nowhere to go. So she went to the bridge. She started living there with other homeless people. But Grace did not forget what Papa taught her. She would walk around the city, looking in trash bins. When she found broken radios, broken phones, or broken small devices, she would fix them. Then she would sell them for small money, maybe 500 naira, maybe 1,000 naira. This is how she survived. On this particular day, Grace was hungry. Very hungry. She had not eaten in 2 days. She decided to walk to the marina area where rich people had their boats and yachts. Maybe I will find good food in their trash bins, Grace thought. The Marina Yacht Club was beautiful. Grace had never seen such a place. There were huge boats with shining white paint. There were men in uniforms cleaning the boats. There were women in expensive dresses and big sunglasses. Grace felt small and dirty. She tried to walk quietly, looking for the trash area behind the buildings. Then she heard shouting. "You people are useless!" A tall man's voice was very angry. "I have an important meeting in 2 hours across the water, and you cannot fix my yacht engine." Grace moved closer. She hid behind a wall and peeked around the corner. She saw a very tall man in a black suit. His suit looked more expensive than all the money Grace had ever seen in her life. His shoes were shining. His watch was gold and big. This was Mr. David Chen, though Grace did not know his name yet. 3 mechanics were standing in front of him. They were sweating. They looked confused and scared. "Sir, we have tried everything," one mechanic said. "We checked the starter motor. We checked the battery. We checked the fuel pump. Everything looks fine, but the engine will not start." Mr. David looked at his watch. "I am supposed to meet the governor in 2 hours. He is waiting for me at his private island. If I miss this meeting, I will lose a $50 million contract." He shouted louder. "Fix it now." The mechanics went back to the engine room. Grace could hear them trying to start the yacht. The engine made a sound, vroom, vroom, click, 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 then nothing. Grace's ears caught something. That clicking sound. She knew that sound. Papa had taught her about this exact problem 3 years before he died. They were fixing a generator for a hotel when it made the same sound. "Grace, listen," Papa had said. "When you hear clicking with a vroom vroom sound, it means 2 problems happening together. The fuel is not flowing right, and somewhere an electrical wire is broken or loose. You must fix both, or the engine will never start." Grace remembered. She listened more carefully to the yacht engine. Yes, it was the same problem. Her stomach was empty. Her feet were dirty. Her dress was torn. But Grace's brain was working perfectly. She took a deep breath. She walked out from behind the wall. She walked straight to where Mr. David was standing. And that is when she said those words that would change her life forever. "Sir, I can fix this," Grace said quietly. The tall man in the expensive suit stopped shouting. He turned and looked at her. His eyes moved from her torn dress to her bare feet, then to her dirty face. Then he laughed. He laughed so hard that his belly shook. "You!" Mr. David Chen pointed at Grace. "A dirty street girl wants to fix my $5 million yacht?" He laughed again. "Get away from here before I call security." The 3 mechanics standing beside him started laughing too. One of them waved his hand at Grace like she was a fly. "Little girl, go find food somewhere else. This is not a place for beggars." But Grace did not move. She stood there on the hot concrete of the yacht dock, her small feet burning. She looked straight into Mr. David's eyes. "The clicking sound from your engine." Grace pointed. "It is not just the starter motor like they think. Your fuel injector is blocked, and there is a broken wire in your electrical panel." Mr. David stopped laughing when Grace mentioned the fuel injector and electrical panel. His eyebrows went up. "How does a street girl know these technical words?" he asked. "My father was the best mechanic in Abuja before he died," Grace said. Her voice was small but strong. "He taught me everything about engines, cars, generators, boats, everything." Mr. David looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at his watch again. The 3 mechanics had been working for 3 hours and failed. His important meeting was in 90 minutes. He was running out of time. "Fine," Mr. David said. "You have 20 minutes. If you waste my time, I will have security throw you out and call the police." Grace's hands were shaking as she climbed onto the yacht. She had never been on a yacht before. Everything was so clean and white and expensive. She was afraid her dirty feet would make marks on the floor. "Stop standing there like a statue," Mr. David shouted. "The engine room is that way." Grace ran to the engine room. When she opened the door, she saw the big engine. It was different from the car engines and generator engines she had fixed before, but the parts were similar. Papa had been right. All engines are family. She knelt down and looked carefully. The mechanics had left their tools everywhere. She picked up a flashlight and looked at the electrical panel. There, a green wire was loose. Not completely broken, but loose enough to cause problems. Then she checked the fuel injector. She touched it and smelled her fingers. The fuel was not flowing smoothly. Something was blocking it. "I need a small wire, a wrench, and a clean cloth," Grace called out. One mechanic brought the tools, but he gave them to her like he was angry. "You are wasting everyone's time," he whispered. Grace ignored him. She took a thin wire from her pocket. She always kept wires and small tools in her pockets, a habit from her days with Papa. She used this wire and the wrench to tighten the loose electrical connection properly. Then she used the cloth and a technique Papa taught her to clean the fuel injector. She worked fast. Her hands moved like they had done this 100 times before. The mechanics were watching her. Mr. David was watching her. Everyone was silent. 15 minutes passed. Grace stood up. Her hands were covered in oil and grease. "Try it now, sir." Mr. David climbed into the yacht. He turned the key. Vroom! The engine roared to life. It sounded smooth and perfect. No clicking. No stopping. Just pure, beautiful engine sound. The mechanic's mouths dropped open. Mr. David pressed the engine pedal. The yacht moved smoothly. He turned off the engine and turned it on again. Perfect every time. He climbed out and stared at Grace. How did you do this?" Grace smiled for the first time. "My father always said, listen to the engine. It will tell you what is wrong." These men were not listening. Mr. David stood there for a moment. Then he reached into his pocket and took out his wallet. It was a thick wallet made of expensive leather. He pulled out money. He counted it, 50,000 naira. He threw the bundle of money at Grace's feet. "Take this and go," he said. "You did well." Grace looked at the money on the ground. 50,000 naira. That was more money than she had seen in 4 years of living on the streets. With this money, she could eat for many months. She could buy new clothes. She could rent a small room. She bent down slowly. Her hand touched the money. Then something happened inside Grace's heart. She remembered Papa's words, "Grace, never let anyone treat you like you are less than human. Your brain is your dignity. Your skill is your respect." Grace picked up the 50,000 naira. Everyone was watching her. They thought she would say thank you and run away happy. But Grace did something that shocked everyone. She tore the money in half. Rear up. Then she dropped the torn pieces on the yacht's white floor. "I don't want your pity money, sir," Grace said. Her voice was shaking, but it was strong. "You laughed at me. You called me dirty. You judged me by my clothes, not my brain. Money cannot fix that disrespect." She turned to walk away. Mr. David's mouth opened wide. Nobody had ever refused his money. Nobody had ever torn his money. Nobody had ever walked away from him like this. "Wait!" he shouted. "What do you want then?" Grace stopped. She did not turn around immediately. Tears were filling her eyes. When she finally turned, her face was wet with tears. I want what my father wanted for me before he died, Grace said. I want to go to school. I want to learn more about engineering. I want people to see my mind, not my dirty clothes. She wiped her tears with her dirty hand, making her face even dirtier. But I know people like you don't care about people like me, Grace continued. You only care when we are useful to you. You needed your yacht fixed, so you let me touch it. But if you saw me on the street tomorrow, you would not even look at me. You would tell your driver to speed up so I don't come near your car. Those words hit Mr. David like a slap on the face. He stood there, frozen. The mechanics were frozen too. Everyone was silent. Mr. David Chen sat down slowly on one of the yacht chairs. His expensive suit crumpled. He put his face in his hands. Grace watched him, confused. Was he angry? Was he going to call security? But when Mr. David looked up, his eyes were different. They were soft. They were sad. You are right, he said quietly. I judged you. I laughed at you. I was wrong. He took a deep breath. 30 years ago, I was like you. I was poor. Very poor. My father was a driver for a rich family. My mother washed clothes for people. We lived in one small room with 7 children. Grace's eyes went wide. This rich man was once poor. I wanted to go to school, Mr. David continued. But we had no money. I would sit outside the school fence and listen to the teacher through the window. One day, the teacher, her name was Mrs. Williams, she saw me. She asked me why I was sitting outside. Mr. David smiled sadly. I told her I wanted to learn, but my family was too poor for school fees. You know what she did? Grace shook her head. She paid my school fees. From primary school to secondary school to university. Everything. She was not even a rich woman. She was just a teacher with a kind heart. Mr. David's voice broke. She saw my brain, not my torn clothes. Just like you said. He stood up and walked closer to Grace. Mrs. Williams died 10 years ago. I had become rich by then, but I was too busy to visit her before she died. I never got to properly thank her for changing my life. He looked directly into Grace's eyes. Grace Okafor, I cannot change what I said to you today. But I can change what happens tomorrow. If you are willing, Mr. David said, I want to send you to the best engineering school. I will pay for everything, school fees, books, hostel, food, clothes, everything. And after you finish school, you will have a job in my company. Grace could not believe her ears. This felt like a dream. Dreams like this did not happen to homeless girls. Sir, why would you do this for me? She asked. Because 30 years ago, someone did it for me. And I forgot. I became rich and forgot where I came from. I forgot how it feels when people laugh at you because you are poor. Mr. David's voice was firm now. You reminded me today. You fixed more than my yacht engine. You fixed my memory. But Grace was smart. She had lived on the streets for 4 years. She had heard many promises from people. Promises that disappeared like smoke. How do I know you will keep your promise? Grace asked. Rich people make promises and forget poor people. Mr. David smiled. You are not just smart about engines. You are smart about life. He took out his phone. I am calling my lawyer right now. Within 1 hour, a man in a gray suit arrived at the yacht. He was carrying a briefcase and a laptop. This was Mr. David's lawyer. Mr. David, the lawyer said, what is this emergency? I want you to write a legal contract, Mr. David said. I am sponsoring this young girl's full education, from secondary school through university. All expenses paid. And after graduation, she gets a job as an engineer in my company. I want this legally binding. The lawyer looked at Grace in her torn dress and dirty feet. He looked at Mr. David like he was crazy. "Sir, are you sure about this?" "Write the contract," Mr. David said firmly. "No." The lawyer opened his laptop and started typing. He asked Grace questions, her full name, her age, her father's name. Grace answered everything clearly. 2 hours later, the contract was ready. The lawyer printed it on special paper with the Chen Industries logo. Mr. David signed it. Then he made Grace sign it too, showing her where to write her name. But he did not stop there. He called his bank on the phone right in front of Grace. "I want to open a new bank account," Mr. David said into the phone. "The name is Grace Okafor. I am depositing 5 million naira into this account immediately. This is for her living expenses and emergency needs." Grace felt dizzy. 5 million naira? She had torn up 50,000 naira just an hour ago because of dignity. Now this man was giving her 5 million. "Sir, this is too much," Grace said. "No," Mr. David said. "This is not even enough to repay what you taught me today. But it is a start." 6 years later the sun was shining bright over the same yacht dock in Abuja. But everything was different now. A young woman stepped out of a black car. She was wearing a beautiful blue engineer's uniform with Chen Industries, Chief Marine Engineer, written on the chest. Her hair was neat and shining. Her shoes were polished. Her face was clean and glowing. This was Grace Okafor. But not the same Grace from 6 years ago. Grace was now 22 years old. She had just returned from the university where she studied marine engineering. She graduated as the top student in her class, the best of the best. Mr. David was waiting for her at the dock. When he saw her, tears came to his eyes. He hugged her like a father hugs his daughter. "I am so proud of you," he said. "I could not have done it without you," Grace said. "No," Mr. David said. "You were already brilliant. I just removed the obstacles in your way." They walked together to the dock. A crowd of people was waiting there, journalists, TV cameras, business people, and many children. Grace had started something special during her university years. She called it Grace Foundation. This foundation found homeless children who had talents, children who could draw, children who could sing, children who could fix things, children who were smart but poor. Grace Foundation gave these children scholarships to go to school. Mr. David provided all the funding. Today, they were launching a new boat that Grace had designed herself. This boat was special. It used less fuel and created less pollution. Grace had invented a new type of engine for it. The boat was covered with a big white cloth. When they removed the cloth, everyone could see the name painted on the side, Williams. "Why Williams?" a journalist asked. Mr. David stepped forward to answer. "Williams was the name of the teacher who saved my life when I was young and poor. This boat honors her memory." Grace added, "And it honors all the Mrs. Williams of the world, all the people who see potential in poor children, who see brain instead of torn clothes, who see future instead of current suffering." The crowd clapped loudly. Then it was time for Grace to give a speech. She stood in front of the microphone. Her hands were not shaking anymore. She was confident now. 6 years ago, I was a homeless girl, Grace said. I slept under a bridge. I ate from trash bins. I had no shoes. When I told a rich man that I could fix his yacht, he laughed at me. She paused and smiled. That rich man is standing beside me now. But he stopped laughing and started listening. That changed everything. Grace looked at all the children in the crowd, children from her foundation. I want to tell you all something important, she said. Do not let anyone make you feel small because you are poor. Talent does not live only in big houses. Talent lives everywhere, in mansions and under bridges. Intelligence does not care if you have expensive shoes or no shoes. The children were listening carefully. Some of them had tears in their eyes. "My father taught me about engines," Grace continued. "But he taught me something more important. He taught me that my brain is my dignity. My skill is my respect. Nobody can take that away from me. Not poverty, not hunger, not people who laugh." She pointed at the boat named Williams. "This boat will sail across oceans. It will carry important people. It will do big things." But 6 years ago, the girl who designed this boat was searching in trash bins for food. Never forget, we all have greatness inside us. We just need someone to give us a chance. The crowd stood up and clapped. Some people were crying. The TV cameras were filming everything. Mr. David walked up and stood beside Grace. He spoke into the microphone. "Grace did not just fix my yacht engine that day," he said. "She fixed my heart. She reminded me to be human again. She taught me that wealth is not just money. Wealth is also compassion, respect, and remembering where you came from." He looked at Grace with tears in his eyes. "Thank you, my daughter. Thank you for not running away when I laughed at you. Thank you for being brave enough to tear my money when I disrespected you. That was the wake-up call I needed." They hugged again. The cameras flashed. The crowd cheered. Then Grace and Mr. David climbed onto the boat named Williams. Grace started the engine she had designed. It purred to life, smooth and perfect. As the boat sailed away from the dock, Grace looked up at the sky. The sun was shining through white clouds. "Papa," she whispered, "I kept my promise. I never gave up. I used my brain. And I remembered everything you taught me, not just about engines, but about dignity, courage, and being human." Somewhere in heaven, John Okafor was surely smiling. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel. Hit that like button and turn on notifications so you never miss stories like this. In the comments, tell us what lesson you learned from Grace's story. We love hearing from you. Thank you for watching, and remember, never judge people by their appearance. Greatness can come from anywhere.